Hi, it's Easter, and I'm wearing ears, and I'm Rob.
And I'm Angie.
And together,
We
we
are
are
TwinFinity.
TwinFinity.
And I'm not laughing so much that we're wearing ears, but I'm laughing at Rob because when I brought these home from the store the other day, what did you say to me?
I'm not sure what I said.
You said, I need permission to go to the store and buy things like this. I should not be allowed to just buy them on my own.
Of course, I think I forgot what I really said because the next thing is let me know that I was going to be wearing these for this video.
Yeah, because it's Easter, so, we have to have fun. But, I actually want to have a quick, serious discussion about why we have fun in our videos. And we do crazy things like this. And then we'll get into question and answers, because that is what we're doing, is a question and answer video. So I know a lot of people struggle at holidays, and I remember very much struggling at holidays myself. They're sad, they're lonely, you feel completely empty, and not just because you're without your twin flame, but sometimes you're without anybody that gets you at all, or sometimes you're completely alone totally. I remember after we broke up, it was October of 1998, my first Thanksgiving without you, and it sucked. It just really sucked. I was homeless. I was living with a friend, but she had family over, so I couldn't stay at her place for the Thanksgiving weekend. So I ended up going to bunk in another of the friends, but they were all gone for the weekend, celebrating Thanksgiving. So I was completely alone. I didn't have Rob. I didn't have any friends. I had nobody, and I had nothing. And I just spent the weekend crying and missing you and missing our journey together. So I try and make our videos happy and fun because I know how hard it is. So now that we've shared that, you can take your little ears off if you wish. But they do look super cute.
Your ears match your sweater better than my ears match my shirt.
Well, yes, and actually I just have to address that. Normally we just naturally end up in pink and blue. This one was purposeful. I actually, before I even looked at Rob, I said to him, no offense, but you have to wear a blue shirt. And then I turn around and he's like, is this blue shirt good enough? I'm like,
because I'd been in a white shirt earlier.
yes.
Actually, my white shirt
It's
is
still on.
still on.
Yeah.
Oh
So
well.
yes. Okay.
We're still having fun,
Yes, we are.
and I'm still wearing ears.
So it's been a while since we've done a question and answer, and we were going to actually last weekend out in the mountains do a video, but Rob was not in the greatest space. And I'm only saying that because so many people keep asking through this ascension stuff that so many of us are going through, and my Lord, the energies have been intense. And everybody asks, do the masculine feel it? Is Rob feeling this? So
sometimes I do.
yes.
Yeah, usually I feel just a corner of it. When you catch a cold, some people go down for the count and other people just get a sniffle. Usually I get a sniffle of ascension stuff. Last weekend, we were in the mountains and I just wanted to hike. I didn't want to take anything out of the backpack. I just wanted to go.
Yeah, we brought it all with us, but it was like, it just didn't feel good enough to do. So we didn't do a video.
It made for good exercise to carry all the stuff again.
Yeah. So we get to do it here instead with Easter and fun ears.
And ears.
And eggs above us. Yay. All right.
Okay.
Questions.
First question. Click to see it all. How did you two communicate before physical union? We aren't at a standstill and I just have to reach out first, but I am received warmly. I know he is doing the work, but I worry about me reaching out, or worry about if me reaching out is premature or doing it too soon. Well, let's answer the first bit. How did we communicate before physical union? A little bit of telepathy and a lot of text.
Yeah, but who mostly texts first?
Usually it was me, wasn't it?
No.
Yeah.
No, okay, I'm talking about before, before I even told you we were twin flames and we were communicating more.
Okay, yeah, during that time.
That's kind of where they're at, right? So I think that's what they're more asking.
Yeah.
So it was mostly me, and I felt the exact same way. I felt like if I didn't communicate, it would be like we didn't communicate at all.
And
that's how I felt.
And to maybe backpedal a little bit, usually you would ask a question, and then I would answer 2 or 3 or 4 times, which means I texted more, but oftentimes you would ask a question.
We have a different memory on this.
Hmm.
I remember it would take you sometimes weeks to answer.
And yeah, then I'd get on it.
And then all of a sudden I'd be like, yay, we're communicating. And then he would just stop. And I'd be like, what? And I know now it was my energy, right? When my energy was like all that pulley, clingy, oh my God, he's texting. Then that pushes them away because they feel that, even if they're not conscious of it. So yeah, to answer the question, that's how we were, is I mostly was the one having to communicate. And I think the reason you weren't communicating is because you were in another relationship and you felt like you were crossing lines that you didn't want to cross.
Yeah. And I wanted to wait for times where I could communicate maybe more than just a couple, 3 quick sentences and then be done for a week because I was busy or under a watchful eye or anything like that. I wanted to wait for a time where I could reciprocate with the communication a little bit, and sometimes that took a few days.
Yeah.
Lots of people end up in those little messy situations.
Yeah. So when they're saying I worry about me reaching out is premature or doing it too soon, I think the easiest way to get around that is do it when you are in a higher place, a higher space, when you're doing it from a soul or higher self aspect, not from an ego aspect. So when we're like, oh God, I miss them, I just really want to talk to them, that's maybe not the best energy to be in. Center yourself first and then communicate, because then you'll probably get more flow out of it too, even though you're saying you're received warmly every time you do communicate.
I was going to go there. Yeah, as long as you're being received warmly, I suppose it gives you a little bit of latitude. If you're walking on eggshells every time you do it, I wouldn't want to be you. It's really, really hard to decide when and how to communicate when it's really tense.
Yeah.
But probably zero communication isn't quite right either. So sometimes you just have to take a leap of faith. Wait till it feels right.
Yeah. Wait till you're getting that nudge, that push. Spirit will definitely do that. If we're not following what we should be, you'll get that screaming, communicate, text him, or whatever communication you're guided to use. But yeah, just follow your guidance. All right. That was a nice short one. We kind of like those. Sometimes we get books. We have a few books here.
Yeah, there's a few books. And this next one isn't a book.
This is a nice short one too.
It's a short one too, but it's got a bunch of stuff in it. I'm wondering if I'm going to stop halfway.
Okay.
Let's try it. See if I can ask the whole question.
Sure.
Before meeting and reuniting, were you both living consciously in the heart space all the time? And another question would be, as you freed yourself, as you mentioned, from codependency and victim mentality and became a creator, do you think that constituted mostly to the intensity between you and Rob's relationship to become less intense? Like, did that contribute to less intensity? As mentioned in one of the videos, and sitting next to him in the car, etc., was really intense.
So first of all, to answer, before meeting and reuniting, were you both living consciously in the heart space all the time? I'm going to definitely say no, and I still don't now. I don't think as human beings at this point in our evolved society, I don't think most of us live in our heart space all the time. We still have ego. We're still ascending and working through releasing a lot of the ego to be in the heart and soul space. So definitely not me.
No, I'd say 100 years ago, based upon things that you read from old books or maybe very old movies, it was all about the heart, all about the heart. People seem to be a lot more diverse nowadays. They throw in a little bit of soul to go along with the heart, and they allow themselves a little bit of latitude. The heart seems to work in conjunction with many other aspects nowadays. It is different. It's much different.
Yeah. And then as far as the healing the codependency and victim mentality, did that affect the intensity between us and change it so it was less intense? necessarily know if it was that changed the intensity. Maybe some, because, as I was more centered and not all like buzzing around in nervousness and ego and stress, I was calmer. But I think it was also just the natural evolvement of our connection.
I'd like to describe this a little bit differently, and I don't even know if it's going to be different or completely a different answer. This,
Okay.
Did it cause it to become less intense? I believe all the intensity is still here, but it's a much more balanced intensity. It's sort of like high power transmission wires. They're really carrying a lot of juice, but it's all safe. It all works. It's not getting ready to arc and throw out lightning bolts and blow up anybody. It's just as powerful, just a lot more centered and balanced.
Okay. Yep.
That's how I feel.
Yep. That's a good way to put it.
And of course, getting out of codependency and victim mentality allows things to be more balanced. So, yes, stepping away from less healthy environments, really helps.
Yeah. I think the right word there, the perfect word is balance. Because we were more in balance, the energy was more in balance.
Yeah.
It can still be, like you say, intense, but it's a different kind of intensity. Yeah. Okay, that's good.
And even with all that, we could still use more balance. Balance, everybody's always looking for balance. And yes, I still have on ears.
Oh, you got that! How do you do that? Hey! I was having a secret conversation with them. How did you...
I heard something about ears.
Just can't put anything past him. Now you have the dog licking your feet. Ugh.
Yeah, I do. I can ignore that.
Okay,
I'm doing
good.
questions.
Yeah, that's true.
When I'm lost in questions, it's okay to...
It's distractible.
It's distractible.
Unlike earlier today when she was licking your head.
Yeah, that wasn't quite so...
Trying to eat.
Yeah. One shouldn't sit on the couch and try to eat with a dog sitting on the back of the couch. Didn't work.
No.
Well, someone's passed along a big thank you, and I think as opposed to keeping that private, I think I'm just going to read this one.
We usually
we can.
skip them, but
yeah.
We're going to read it.
It says, thank you so much for the work that you do. It has helped me so much with my twin flame journey and my own healing. I truly appreciate your videos. I was watching your latest video, and it brought up something that's been triggering me beyond belief, and I'm hoping you guys could help me out with this. It really bothers... Oh boy. Okay, yeah, I can see this.
Yeah.
It really bothers me most of the time. It seems the feminine is doing all of the healing. I'm going to come back to that. When I see Rob sitting there laughing and talk about how great his life was and how he didn't have to do anything and had all this love and everything was easy, it really upsets me. Sorry. I'll also come back to that. It really triggers me so badly because of my own experience and my own twin flame union. I've done such massive, painful, intense healing and growth my whole life, but especially the last 6 years, my twin and I have been in separation, and we have been reconnecting again, and she tells me that her love life has been amazing and fun and magical for the past 6 years. Well, I have been going through much pain, intensity, and deep healing. She is the more masculine in our dynamic. I can't seem to get past the unfairness, and it really makes me upset with the universe and with life. It also makes me feel very alone. That the one person I feel is the most connection to in the world is having a completely different experience. Thank you for reading this, and thank you so much for all of your guidance. That has got to be one of the common, most core comments that comes out, especially during workshops or conferences.
Yeah. I'm doing all the work and my twin is having this great, happy life.
We go to these workshops and there's 3 guys and 26 girls, and the girls are working hard trying to figure all this out. And the guys are going, what? We're working on stuff too. So which steakhouse we're going to go to tonight when we get out of the conference? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I can certainly see, simply because it just really looks that way, why it looks that way. The only thing is, though, is that if the feminine is doing all of the healing, then the masculine never has any hope at all of understanding or working with the feminine to begin with, let alone having a chance to come to union. And yet there is so many masculines out there that have had to work really, really hard. I had to spend years wondering why all these lessons were coming my direction and wondering how it would ever help me when I was learning things with other people, that it was their lesson, but I was being exposed to it. I thought it was all neat. I never thought it would come to anything, but nonetheless, there was actually still so much to be learned. So maybe that's also why us masculines are always talking about catching up.
I have my own take on it, but I wanna hear your stuff first.
Societal programming, especially in advanced first world societies. We're programmed to go out there and work, fight for stuff, do our best to our own detriments, and sometimes we never even get to the spot where we do get to learn truly what would help bring us closer to a relationship that would be divinely guided. There's a whole lot of stuff that has to happen before the masculine or a very aggressive feminine would have a chance to get on a path of true healing, get on a path of dimensional healing. You look like you got lots you want to say.
I do. Okay, so first of all, I wanted to just comment, even though it looks like to the feminine that the masculine isn't doing any work and they're just having this great, as I always say, la-di-da life, they do their own work in their own way. Again, because of the different dynamic, the masculine versus the masculine heals in a very different way than the feminine does. But it doesn't mean they're not doing the work, and it doesn't mean that their life is always picture perfect. Maybe they just say that to us. Maybe that's what we see and that's what we hear. Well, we are doing the deep work, because I know even in our dynamic that was the case. I did a hell of a lot of work in my many years that we were apart. Well, you did have more of a happy, easy life, but yours wasn't perfect. You still had a lot of challenges.
Did I change during all those years apart?
No.
Okay.
Well, okay, no, sorry. Your core self didn't change, but you grew a lot.
Right.
You definitely came into a lot of balance. Yes. Like your drill sergeant that we've talked about in our story videos, Rob used to be so friggin' intense. That was one of the many reasons we broke up. He used to drive me insane because it was always like, go, go, go. There was no fun. There was no play. You certainly wouldn't do this. You wouldn't do this at all. Like, no.
Or if I did, it would have lasted 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Not 3 minutes and 31 seconds or 3 minutes and 29 seconds.
Yeah.
The clock would have been ticking. Done.
Yeah.
Time up.
But also, even past all that growth, you did have challenges. Like you talk about your karmic relationship, karmic 2, and how, it was mostly good. But there was hard times in that relationship. And I think we've shared in our Journey to Union videos, our whole story, that there was time you even considered, like years before you and I got back together, you considered moving on from that relationship. You considered breaking up because it was challenging.
I was going to throw myself right back into complete singledom.
Yeah. So even though, we might think they're having this great life, because I thought the same thing. Anytime we were in touch, it was always like, oh yeah, life's great. I'm going to the mountains. I'm doing this. And I'm like, oh God, I'm going to this course and I'm seeing this healer and I'm bawling my eyes out over this issue that I'm working on. And I felt completely inadequate because I was like, what's wrong with me? Why can he have this great life and I'm just working nonstop.
I had a good life with a lot of great spots in it, and a good life with a lot of stuff that was not so great. The balance was still very good.
Yep. Now, also, though, this is the difference between the masculine and feminine. The masculine is more the grounded one. So their job energetically is to keep the balance, keep things stable on the earth, really rooted in the earth and grounded. Well, the feminine is the one that goes up higher. So to do that, we're the one that has to do a lot more healing work because we're the one bringing the connection higher and higher up into the higher realms. So that's just the role we've each chosen. And again, there are no victims in this whole plan because we've all agreed to it in soul form. And I know sometimes you look at your life and you're like, really? I agreed to all this shit? Are you kidding me? But yes, we did. There's nobody we can point a finger at and say, you made me do this. No, we volunteered for all of it. And another way to also look at it is to remember past lives. Oftentimes, we've had different experiences than our twin in a past life. And sometimes one of us has more karma to clear than the other. I certainly did. Rob completed his previous lives. I committed suicide in a lot of mine, which is why I had a tremendous amount of healing to do this time. Because it was like everything that I didn't work through in previous lives, everything I didn't face and I ran from, it was like this life, you have to deal with all of it. So you just never know what the situation is, what the bigger picture dynamics are. And also remember that not every masculine has it easy. It might look that way. But for example, if you look at Dove and Nicole, Twin Flame Revolution, if you watch their stuff, if you follow them at all. Nicole, very similar, they're also in a same-sex connection. And Nicole is the one that holds the masculine energy. But my goodness, if you listen to her story, she has gone through challenge after challenge after challenge. And she still does, even though they're in union. So it's not always a pretty picture just because it's a masculine, and it's not always hard just because it's a feminine. It definitely, it's not like a rule that it's always that way. So just remember, if you can, the bigger picture, and know though that you're working towards one common goal, and that is wholeness. And you're both going to get there because you can't have union without that. And if you're working on your stuff, then even if your partner isn't appearing to be working on theirs, they are in their own way, just like you were. It didn't look like you were at all, but you grew a hell of a lot.
And it didn't feel really like I was. But looking back at my old self from 22, 23 years ago, there is some things that are similar, very little that's exactly the same. And everything now has a chance to there's that word again. I'm not going to use the word. Everything now has a chance to exist and coexist in varying situations. I think it's called balance. I can't get away from that word.
It's the word of the night.
It's the word. Yes, it's my word of the day. It's going to be balance.
Yeah. So if I can give you any piece of advice, it's just to stop looking outside of yourself at your twin and just keep doing the work. And know that you are getting forward. You're making progress in all your work. And it is going to help you get to union. And know that even if your twin doesn't look like they're doing the work, they are in their own way. The masculine just heals very, very different than the feminine does. I did courses and classes and counseling and Reiki healings and body talk and craniosacral. And I mean, you name it, I did it. Rob's not done any of that. But we're here, we're together.
But in my life, I've attracted all sorts of different people that did that on their own, and I was with them for their journeys through it.
Right.
So, in spite of the fact that I did not go after the lessons from those modalities, I was in close communication with people who were. So, in spite of myself, I still found a lot of the information.
Yes. And you still ended up healing, just in a roundabout way.
I learned
you didn't
to
actually have to
appreciate it.
consciously seek it like some of us feminines do. Yeah. So I send you my love, and I understand. But just know, just keep doing the work. You're on the right path. It pays off.
Makes me wonder how many masculines are just living in torture every day, especially the ones that are in a karmic relationship, knowing that somebody out there believes that they have a much stronger spiritual, soulful relationship available, but the masculine feels that they must stay where they're at because it is their duty, because they've made that choice already. That's not an easy place to be in.
Yeah.
Might look easy. They might be having as much fun as they can, but they can't completely ignore that.
Yep.
Next question?
Yep.
I could banter about that last question all video. I have been in the TF journey for 3 years now, and we have always been in contact every 2 weeks. He is married with 2 kids, and I am free as a bird. Yep, here we go. A couple of weeks ago, we finally talked a bit more in detail, and that was where he stated that he has spoken to his wife, and because of the children, they agreed to keep on living together, but have the opportunity to have an open relationship. And I told him I am not the person that enters into marriages. So we left it there. Then he went on holidays with the family, and of course I was really triggered and wanted to back up completely, but we had some lessons to finish. So I tried to overcome all this and accept and embrace the connection. And when we met again, when I accepted that, let me try that again. When I accepted and let the love flow in, we came together. He is excited in meeting me and going on. And we have met twice now on personal basis, and hugs are too incredible, etc., etc. But I don't feel so comfortable with open relationships. On one way, I want to let it flow and see what the universe brings, and then the other way, I want to put my healthy boundaries in place. And the other thing, how do you get to know someone if he is married? Dating? I'm really a bit lost on this point. Should it be about boundaries, or should we be open to this love and let it flow and accept it for what it is? Would this be not valuing myself or surrendering to what is?
That's a great question, because that can be very confusing. You're like, well, people say I'm supposed to have boundaries, but people say I'm supposed to surrender and let the journey just flow. So what am I supposed to do? That's a tough one. Do you have thoughts before I dive in? Or do you want me to dive in and then
you can dive in first,
Okay.
because I feel a little more sinister probably than you.
Sinister.
Yeah.
So first of all, I really like that this person said, that your twin and his karmic have agreed that they're going to have like an open marriage. So they're basically, it sounds like, staying in the marriage for the kids, but they're allowed to now see other people because clearly they're not interested in being together. And your twin has said, hey, so I can have a relationship with you because I have this open thing with my wife. And you're like, no, that's not what I want. I think that's very important. Not that you necessarily said that's not what I want, because there's no right or wrong, right? Everybody's journey is different. But what I think is so important is you knew what you wanted. You knew what was important to you, and you knew what your values were. And instead of just giving in to your twin and going, yay, I can have him, or at least a part of him, you were like, no, that doesn't serve me. I want more than that. That, I think, is such a great way to self-honor. When you can put yourself first instead of just diving into what your twin has to offer, even if it's not what you want, but you just like, okay, it's something, I'll take it. Because that doesn't serve either party then, right? If you're going to go against what is your natural tendency, what's your values, what's your needs, what serves you, it's not serving either of you. So now to go to the end where you're talking about, like how do I get to know somebody when they're still with somebody else and I've chosen not to be in a relationship with them. I think you can have a friendship with them. I mean, that's what we did. We just communicated strictly as friends.
Yeah.
To the point, all we talked about was license plates, playing the license plate game. And it slowly evolved into more. So I think that's the part where you just let it flow and let it be what it is while you still honor your comfortableness and your values. If it comes to a point where like this is too much, it's getting too close and I don't want to be involved in this marriage stuff, then you can pull away. But I think allow it to just evolve as it will naturally without forcing it, but without fighting it too, with still honoring yourself. And I know that sounds all kind of confusing. it's a little bit of a dance to do all of that. But it's part of the balance, right? And when you find that balance with the connection, then you find that balance with yourself, and vice versa. When you have the balance with yourself of what feels comfortable and what doesn't, then you'll have the balance with the connection too. And what was the last part? Was there more? Should it be about the boundaries or opening to this love and flow with it? I think again, it's both. It's a balance of both. Have your boundaries where they're important to you. If it's not important to have communication with him, or it's okay for you to have communication with him even though he's in another relationship, but it's not okay for you to cross certain lines while he's in another relationship, then honor that. There, again, on this path, there is no right or wrong. There's no one way to do it. There's your way. There's what feels good for you. So get to know yourself. Get to know what you feel good with, what you don't feel good with, what you're comfortable with, what you're not comfortable with, and then stay in those guidelines. It really is about following your own guidance. I know I use those words a lot, but that's the truth of this journey. That's where it all starts and ends, is inside.
This is kind of a tough question because I could stand on my soapbox and give 4 distinctly different answers. I could believe in all 4 of them to a certain level, and all 4 of them would have immense strengths and weaknesses. I like to back up to the thought of the open relationship. That's all fine and brave and dandy to talk about. It really, really is hard to actually put it into action.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually when one person exercises their right of open relationship, usually the other person has a meltdown of some type.
Yeah.
And that
Ego gets involved.
and someone has the why did I ever agree to this, and things change abruptly, and usually the shackles and chains of not the fun type. I'm talking the ones that really, really put a person into a straitjacket. That's what usually comes out of that. Really, I just cannot. I just really can't go down the road of ever saying, well, somebody's in an open relationship. Yeah, okay, go ahead, get involved. Next thing, you're being stalked by the other person's husband/wife, depending upon which direction this is going. If you've got a line of communication that is healthy,
to you,
keep it. Yes, This isn't really even about morals. This is about ending up taking a chance, rolling the dice, and ending up in a far worse place than what you've been able to achieve already. I think that these forward steps of communication, where some people would love to just be able to be in touch with their twin once every couple of years, and if you can be in touch with your twin occasionally without throwing risks of guilt, resentment, or getting somebody in trouble in the way, I think that that's a heck of an accomplishment. I wouldn't put that at risk personally. So I would stay away from the open relationship portion. Stay in touch the way that you are. If that relationship has come to a point of open relationshipness, there is a chance it might just disintegrate all on its own.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's going to eventually, because if you're just staying in a relationship for kids,
it's
never gonna work.
That's just brutal. Once the kids get old enough to be able to fly on their own, then usually the relationship ends on its own. I don't know. I'd let a bunch more time do the talking, not action in this case.
Okay.
That's my take on it.
There you go.
But if you do go the other route, all the power to you.
You look really cute.
I have years.
Okay, last question for this video.
Dear Angie.
Yep.
I might be done. I won't take my ears off till we're done. Dear Angie, this one's for you. My twin got fixed with a girl of his parents' choice a month back. Why are these questions all so right down the middle of the difficulty scale? He still wants to have me as his friend because of his emotional dependence on me, whereas he is going ahead with the other girl for marriage because of his own lessons with his parents. Yeah. I told him I can't be in a setup like this wherein we are just friends because we both know we're so much more than that. I haven't contacted him now in 20 days, but I miss him dearly. I do feel a lot of anger also at times thinking if he would just be missing me as much. If that's true, why doesn't he ever contact me? Why should I be the only one initiating communication all the time? I have dreams of him almost every alternate night, and I'm healing those triggers one by one. But it is very frustrating because it seems like madness to me when nothing is happening in the physical, yet I think and feel I feel and think of him almost every moment of my day. The last few conversations I had with him after he got engaged, he told me he loves me a lot. He loves me a lot, and while he was in high school, and the next day, when he was sober, it got down to me being his greatest friend.
Just to clarify, I think it meant
he was very high on alcohol.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So yes, he was able to tell the truth while he was not in a full logical state of mind.
I told him till the time he owns up to his truth, we can't be in touch, but I still miss him a lot. This has been happening since the last 8.5 years, and I doubt it also at times, but I also get around to believing it again as the pull is just so strong. Did you also go through such a phase in your life? How did you deal with it?
Yes. And it was really, really hard. As Rob was reading this, I was remembering exactly the apartment I lived in, exactly the struggles I had, like you, where I was trying not to communicate, and every single day it was brutal. His name would be everywhere, signs of him would be everywhere, songs that connected us together would be everywhere, and it was just like the universe was pushing us together when I was trying to be apart from him. Oh, it was hell. So I have so much compassion for you. What I did is I finally asked my angels for help. And luckily, I was still at that point really channeling angels in writing. So they wrote back and said, you have to let him go. And he may or may not choose this path. And I think they just tell us that because that's helpful to help us let go. But they said if, my angels had for years been telling me what our mission was. And I was then, well, how are we going to accomplish this mission if you're saying I have to let him go and he may or may not choose to come back? And they said, don't worry, you will have somebody to help you with your mission. You will not be left alone. So I finally had to ask my angels, like, help me let him go then, because I can't do this on my own. I don't know how to do this. And it worked. It did get easier to not think of him every second of every day. I think in that time frame, it was 4 months, and I think there was one day in those 4 months that I didn't think of him. But what I also did is I listened constantly to my guidance. And sometimes my guidance was let him go. And other times it was call him. And I always listened. Well, I shouldn't say that. I fought every time it was like call him. I was like, I'm not calling him. Are you insane? But finally, when I did, I remember there was one time. This was when I was living still down on 4th Street in Mission. And I called you. And you were like, oh my God, I was just thinking of you 10 minutes ago. And it was the neatest twin flamey experience. So it's one of those things, again, where it's just a constant going with the flow. Our ego wants to tell us, screw it, never communicate again, block their number, and don't ever talk to them, don't think of them. But our ego isn't the one in control of this journey. And the more we fight it, the more we're going to fight it. So if you can, is listen to that, again, inner guidance. If you want to call it your angels, if you want to call it your own soul, your higher self, it doesn't matter. But whatever you do is follow wiser, higher guidance than the ego. Because the ego's never going to steer us right. The ego is all about control and wanting to do things a certain way. And this journey just doesn't flow that way. In fact, it fights it that way. So yeah, just go day by day, day by day. Some days you may be guided, don't contact him. There might be a day then you are guided to contact him, and it's for a reason, because maybe he's going through something. And oftentimes they are thinking of us just like he was, and they need the contact. And it's verification for them too of, wow, okay, we are connected. So there really is something here. But I also think you're very wise to not get involved and let him live his lessons. Yes, unfortunately, arranged marriages still happen. It's shocking. It's shocking to me that they still happen. But he's got to play out that role. And until he gets the lessons from it, there's nothing you can do or say that's going to bring him out of that from an ego place. And that's where you might be guided sometimes to contact him, because your soul wisdom has something to say that's going to spark or trigger him on the bigger picture, and that will wake him up. But to do it from an ego, there's just no sense in even trying.
See, now you've just talked about ego, and ego is very connected to the three-dimensional, and I have a sort of a three-dimensional comment I'd like to make, which means it's probably very close to ego. Oh, all right, I'm going to make it anyway. We all hate to play games, but sometimes certain actions might seem like games, but they're really not. This is tough to paint as far as a picture is concerned, but I'm going to try to do this. I would say in this situation you might be just as well off to send a message saying, hi, this is very hard for me to handle. I don't plan on communicating with you again in the near future. If you want to communicate with me, fine. Tag, you're it. And then let it go for a couple, 3 months. Let this person go off, stay focused where they need to be focused. If they contact you, great. But if they don't, after 2 or 3 months, send a hello. And you know, when a person has been taking their heart and suppressing their heart because they're supposed to be in the relationship that they're in, and then they just get helloed out of the distance when they've been able to keep themselves sheltered and protected, sometimes it really does hit home to them. And they go, oh man, as soon as they see that hello and who it's from, they go, wow, I haven't been feeling it, but instantly now I really, really do miss that person. And chances are you get a very heartfelt response back, because all of a sudden everything that they've been suppressing wells back out of them, and they have almost no inhibition to speaking their truth. So yeah, to let a person stew, even if they're not thinking about you, to let them stew in their own life for a while and then get back in touch with them. You might actually get an answer that won't actually be shrouded and altered by the alcohol, as per the question. That's where I was going with that. Yeah, it is really hard when somebody else is choosing to be in a life that they don't necessarily have a lot of control on. It's I can imagine it being unimaginably difficult.
Yeah, it's tricky. Okay, so that's all the questions we have for now. Well, that's not true. We have lots more questions, but that's all the questions we're going to do for now.
That's all the questions that I have on the clipboard for now.
Yes. So we wish you a happy Easter, and I genuinely hope that it can be happy, but I understand too that holidays can be hard.
The high celebration times of the year can also be high depression times of the year. Yeah, and these questions were also so hard from a point of view that so many people are in corners of these questions. Yeah, this is really a time where a person can be triggered into sadness. I don't like to use the word depression, but sadness.
Yes. But I still haven't found what's the right word?
Purposeful?
Well, I was going to say that, but that's not the right word.
Purple something.
No. A permanent word for my single videos that I do without Rob. For now, I just call them my little tidbit videos. But anyway, I just did one the other day about happiness and how we can find happiness even amidst challenges and everything else. So I invite you, if this weekend is a hard weekend for you, to watch that and just find little ways to have happiness. So we wish you a lot of love, a lot of happiness, and a happy Easter.
Yes, very much.
Yeah, and thanks for wearing your ears the whole time. Well done.
Okay,
now
I made it.
Like I'm taking them off.
3 seconds after the stop button.
Yeah.
No more ears.
Yeah. Okay, guys, we love you so much, and we'll be back soon enough with more. Bye.
Bye.